What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Cause True Talks, alright? Let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man. I appreciate y'all. You already know. Let's get straight right into it. Let's go into everything what's going on and let's get it. Let's get it done. Let's get it crispy. You already know. So we already know what we have on hand right now. Obviously, the other day, a lot of, hoopla and a lot of kind of, the rumors came out, or not the rumors, the breaking news came out, right? Obviously. So basically, it was the other day, yesterday actually, it came out that the Cavs are looking into shopping Andre Drummond. They're looking into shopping Andre Drummond. They're actually not going to play him. They said they're going to sit him out until they actually find a suitor for him to trade for him for the trade deadline. So the context of Andre Drummond is obviously this offseason, he exercised his player option, which means he tapped into his, his last year on his contract. He could have been a free agent, or he could have declined it and became a free agent, or opt in. So obviously he opted in. It's $28.7 million that he opted into. So that's what he's getting paid right now. So basically what that means is that the Cavs obviously maybe they were hoping he was going to be a free agent, but he kind of just kiboshed that, said, "Are you dumb?" Opted into his contract. So they had no say on like if they wanted him or not, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, they kind of obviously went through the year. And obviously he was eating to start the year, and he was putting in work. I even have him on fantasy. So he was putting in work, and he was going to work and eating, obviously leading the league in double-doubles. I think he was leading in rebounds. All that, like he was eating, right? Basically it was like 19 and 13, 14, stuff like that. So when you look at it, he's obviously eating. He's always been doing that, right? And obviously it's a whole different story. People say he can have like he can be putting in work, but he doesn't impact the game. Obviously, defensively, sometimes he be lazy and stuff like that, but he rebounds and he does protect the rim. If he's motivated, he can. But like obviously, like he's been in bad situations with the Detroit Pistons and now the Cavs, right? So it's like, is he really like did anyone put a spark or a fire under him to where it's like I'm locking up every possession, protect the rim, like that motor defensively, especially for guys like that. Like same thing with Valanciunas. Offensive-minded bigs and stuff like that. Now they kind of focus on that end. They don't really worry about defense unless it's like if they're in a winning situation, then they'll focus and they'll try, right? So I don't even pay attention to that. But anyways, he kind of, he's been eating to start the year. But what happened was with the Brooklyn Nets with that trade, and they got Jared Allen, right? They got Jared Allen, and they're like, you know what? We're building for the future now, right? You have Jared Allen, you have Sexland, Darius Garland, and Colin Sexton. You have them. Right, and you have Okoro, and you have all these guys, right? You have a young core, right? Larry Nance as well, and let's go with the young core. They've actually been winning some games, like they're not like hella fugazi and stuff like that. So it's actually like, you know what? Let's go with this wave. Let's go with Taurean Prince is there now too. Let's go with this young core, rebuild, and just give them more minutes, and let's go with that. Let's take away from Drummond, because it even got to the point where they're starting Allen and Drummond at the same time. And it's like, this ain't old school. Like, you don't do no two bigs like that, two bigs that can't really shoot. Like, that was hella weird. Like, what are y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's no Caleb and stuff like that. So it's like, what are y'all doing? Like, so there's like, it obviously got to a point where they're like, you know what? We got to move this guy. Instead of, obviously, he's not going to stay here because we're telling him we're trying to rebuild. So let's use him as an asset and let's move him, which obviously, you heard Draymond talk about how that's unacceptable because the whole bashing Harden, but then we don't bash the organization that they want to move Drummond. It's just, Drummond has to sit out and just go and be in shape and whatever. And that's a whole different discussion. But I agree every word that Draymond said. If you don't know, go search that shit up, man. I agree with it. Anyways, we move past that. And basically, right, so they're like, we got to get rid of him, and we're going to basically flip him. This is a tough situation. This is a situation where they obviously want to trade him. They have to March 25th, which is the deadline. So a month and a bit. So this man could be out for a long time. You don't want to keep playing him and his stock drops. You know what he did for the season. So he has a high stock value right now, right? But the thing is, his contract is high. He's basically 30 mil, 28.7, 29, 30 mil almost, right? So it's like, that's not an easy just ship. Not only that, it's who's going to pay that much for a guy that might leave. in the offseason. So this is one of those tough situations. Like, this is the one where Drummond can actually control a lot. He can literally announce the 3 teams he wants to go to. Now everyone else but that. Like, this is one of those situations that is like, do you really give up a lot to get this guy who could still leave? Like, so it might be a situation where the Cavs, everyone's kind of like, do we trade for it? Who's going to pull the trigger on that? Who's going to do that risk on a guy like, you know what I mean? Who's going to do that risk? And this is one of those situations. It's not like Drummond is obviously an elite big, but the perception around the league isn't like he's like a Kawhi or he's like a Rudy Gobert or he's like, and you know what I mean? Obviously he puts up stats or whatever the case is, but the context and the perception around the league is he's not one of those bred players like Dame and this and that where it's like, even if we get him for a couple months, at least if we get him, let's sell him. We could use this time. If we win big and we sell him, maybe he might stay. It's not one of those where you take that risk. People are looking at it like as they're looking at it completely different as this guy might leave. This guy might leave. Are we really going to pay for this guy who might leave? So I'm going to see who actually is going to pull the trigger. Now, what happens is obviously the Raptors. The Raptors have been interested in talks. I don't know if that's a more so. I think it's more so that the Cavs are kind of just using the Raptors to kind of just spark interest. Like just, he might be traded. They're in talks with the Raptors, and it kind of just makes the league aware, and it kind of sparks their eye to be like, yo, do something. He might just go to the Raptors. No, break it up, send offers, right? So that sometimes, a lot of the times when you hear that, like people don't look deep into it, but a lot of it sometimes the team that wants to trade someone kind of like there's only one team knocking at the door, so you're gonna be like, okay, you know what? Let's hear them out. And you do that as a tactic to spark the teams you really want to trade with. You know what I mean? To just spark their motion, put a fire under their ass basically, and then from there you light a fire under them, and it's like, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna not? You know, you kind of spark them to kind of just be interested and just open their eye and actually pursue and get proactive with it. So when you look at it from that perspective, obviously like the Raps, I don't know how much of it is cap or how much of it is true. But if I had to pick and choose, I would say on the Cavs end it's probably cap, because look at it from this perspective. The Raptors have guys who are locked off. So Pascal locked off, Van Vliet locked off in terms of getting Drummond. The whole purpose of the Raptors pursuing Drummond, right, for the Raptors end is that you want to get a big. You want to basically, what the weak hole right now is not everybody else. The weak hole right now is your big man position. So you want to establish a big man position. So ideally the Raptors want to get a big, but still have the rest of their roster, because that's not the problem. That's even the reason why you're even winning some of these games. You don't want to sacrifice everything to get a big. Then you're now going to have the other things are going to be a hole. You don't want to, like, you can't. You're in a situation where you have to pick and choose. You have to pick and choose which hole would actually be more of a deficiency that you can't make up. Your big man hole that you have right now, if you actually, is like that deficiency right now, would you have that as your deficiency, or would you have a big man, but then you have a lot of perimeter players as a whole? You know what I'm saying? Which one would you pick and choose? If I'm the Raptors, I'd rather have the big man as a whole, because again, you have the summer free agency. You have the summer free agency, right, that you could go with. Obviously, Rudy Gobert and the guys are off the board, but there's role players who could, like, you don't need a star-studded guy. Like I said, with the Christian Wood, there's other under-the-radar guys that when it comes to it, you could look at that could do. You just put Boucher as a six-man. You just get a starting as a Boucher caliber of player. Like, you could get those under-the-radar guys and whatever the case is. Like, you don't have to shake up the whole thing, because the whole thing isn't the issue. It's one thing. So are you really going to trade Powell, trade TD, trade like a bunch of these guys? And if you're the Cavs, is that even something that's like, you know what, that's worth Drummond? No, I don't think the Cavs, the things that would be worth Drummond is if they get a Pascal or they get a Van Vliet. Like, they wouldn't even want Van Vliet. They have Garland and whatever. They would want a Pascal and an OG. Those are the two guys I promise you they're probably looking for. Because that's something that fits exactly with how they even play. That's the two bred guys, prize possessions they probably want. And the Raptors aren't willing to give that up. for Drummond, that for 28, you know what I mean? You're going to pay for 28, 30 mil. That's what you're going to do. So when you look at it, if I'm the Raptors, like, I'm only interested to hear what they say, what they're willing to do. But if they're asking for more and whatever, like, nah. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I was trying to tell y'all prior to this, like, the Raptors are kind of they're kind of stuck. Let's just be honest. The things that they want, they don't have the equatable or the proper assets to actually match the things that they want. So you can't do a fair trade. And normally when you don't have the assets, and when I mean assets, I mean the players on your roster, the player of caliber that you guys want or that you're trying to attract or that you're trying to get, the guys you're trading for them don't match. So what happens when you have the guys that you're trading for them that don't match? You have to have a plethora of picks to upset that, to shorten the gap. Oh, the players I'm getting individually don't match the guy that I'm getting, but bare picks will. And that's what you've seen with the Harden. That's what you've seen with other trades. If you don't have the actual asset that matches that caliber of player right now, either potential-wise or even just right now or even in general, you never might will. Like, you don't see him get into that part. Just trades. I mean, it's draft picks. Same thing when you see they put Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's like, oh, Gilgeous might not put, with the OKC and Clippers, it might not be the exact same as PG. Bare picks. Raptors don't have that. Raptors don't have either. So they're literally stuck. The other teams don't look at their guys that they want. They don't look at them as equivalent. So when it's not equivalent, you don't have picks as well. You don't have all of that. I'm not even looking your way. And that's what I'm saying. The Raptors are actually stuck. They're actually stuck right now. So when you look at it from that perspective, like, I don't even know why the Raptors are actually, like, obviously you're going to do your due diligence and try and pursue trades and try and pursue this piece and that piece and this and that and the third. But let's be realistic. Like, once they hear what you're offering, they're like, yo, you going to do this or do this? No, I'm not doing that. All right, say less. Bye. Have a good day. That's how the trade talks are going for the Raptors right now. I promise you. That's why all you hear is they're interested. You don't hear, oh, this is all they're in talk. Oh, my God, they're working out a deal right now. You don't hear that. All you hear is just interested and they're in talks. That's all you hear. It never goes past that because the Raptors don't have nothing. They're stuck. You have to find a way to win with what you have. That's what the Raptors are stuck with. Win with what you have. If Pascal elevated his game and actually, like, was a number one option, was an all-star, like, player, then the deficiencies you have at the big, you would upset. Perfect example, last game winner. Pascal does it, you don't lose. Other games where he has 16, has 12, has 10, has 15, has 16. If he's getting 25 on average, you know what I mean? You upset the deficiency. Like, you could, like, look at the Nets. They're winning through scoring. Like, there's going to be times where your defense, you have a hole at the big man. But if you're scoring, if your guys are your guys, you're going to win games. You're going to, you know what I mean? You're going to win even more games than losing. The reason Raptors are losing more games than winning is because Pascal is underperforming. So not only are you losing the big man, you're losing the Ibaka, the Gasol, you have deficiency. You're also losing. It's like you're losing the big man. You're losing Ibaka, you lose Gasol, and you get in half of Pascal. So you're actually losing 3 or 2.5 and stuff like that. So it's like, it's not just the deficiencies of the big. That's just one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is Pascal also disappeared too as well. Like, in grand scheme, what is he averaging? Like, he's averaging under than what he was doing. He's supposed to elevate so that the blow of those two guys leaving is going to be alleviated. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, everybody else elevating isn't going to just cure that. That's, you know what I mean? So that's the same thing. It's the same thing. When there's no Simmons, what happens? Embiid rises his level of play. So all the deficiencies that Simmons, kind of the things that he cures and the deficiencies that you get from him not being there is absolved because you're getting way more output on this end. Embiid is snapping. Right? Embiid leaves. Then Ben Simmons is snapping even more. Like, you know what I'm saying? You cover deficiencies because one other guy rises. That's how it goes. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You got to look at it from that perspective. Like, I don't think that the Raptors should even entertain. And it's not even about what I think. You know what I'm saying? They just don't have the assets. They just don't have it. They don't have the assets. So y'all thinking that, oh, it's a great trade, go for Drummond and this and that. Like, I don't think it's going to be possible, to be honest. I just don't think so. I think one that could actually maybe be more possible is maybe like they're saying Blake Griffin might be bought out. Obviously, Blake Griffin is doing this. He's not looking good. At the end of the day, he's still an upgrade from Baines. There's still so many things that he provides offensively that at least you'll still have the same probably deficiency at the center position wise, but at least he gives you more output offensively, so you could upset that. Because it's not like the Raptors defense is straight terrible, even with the deficiency at the big. It's not like their defense is terrible. They're still a mediocre middle of the pack. They're even probably top of the pack in certain aspects of defense. They're not like completely off the grid. And it's like every spectrum of defense, they're atrocious. No, they actually have great defense, great perimeter defense. Most of the time, majority is just you're gonna get beat a lot of the time. So then they have no rim protection, and then now it's like, you know what I mean, and it just that is what it's affecting. So that won't change if you get Blake Griffin at the 5. That won't change, but he could pick, he could pop. He could go to work. He could ISO. He could, he has passing vision. There's so many things offensively that you can now expand your offense to a whole new echelon that now you actually won't even be worried about those deficiencies because you're scoring. And that's a situation where, because Blake Griffin, the context with him is that he's being bought out. Blake Griffin might be bought out, but they're looking to trade him regardless from Detroit. Obviously, his contract is like high 20s again, $2 million. And he has 2 years, I think, left, right? But if he's bought out, then now it's just like you could just have to sign him, right? So it's like, and he might, especially because it's half the year, he might sign lower under the radar. Like if he gets bought out, that's something where I'm looking at the Raptors should actually pursue. You don't give up, you just give money. That's the perfect scenario for the Raptors because they don't have the assets to give up and change. Like they don't have the assets and they don't want to change a lot on their roster. They just want a replacement for big without having to give up too much. That's perfect scenario. Someone who's bought out, the buyout market, that's someone all you do is pay. You don't give up no players. You maybe just waive maybe someone at the end, but you're not actually giving up players and doing a whole trade thing. So if he gets bought out, that's something that should alert the Raptors' eyes, and that should be something that they actually should do. It's not even something you think about. You don't even think about it. Just go do it. Go do it. Do a 1 year, the rest half. Pay him whatever, who's not even if it's $10 million, whatever the case. Like you could finesse it, waive somebody. It doesn't matter. Do it. You do it, and see how it works. That's the best case scenario for Raptors. That's the only way I see them fixing the big man hole, the buyout market or whatever free agent is lying around. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way. The trade is not happening. Or if they want to go for a McGee or something like that, but even then, who are they really going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the only way. That's the only way. I don't see them doing any other, type of big situational trades and that's not happening. But that Blake Griffin is more so. I know, obviously, people are like, no, don't go for Blake, but that make no sense. I just think that is going to be a big improvement offensively for the Raptors. You have a big man who can actually pick and pop now, right? Because Pascal's not really thriving. He can space the floor. Pascal still has the paint. You don't have to play Baines as much and stuff like that. And obviously, if you have big centers, then you still play Baines, right? And you know what I mean? Like, there's so much offensively that you could do. He could play make, he could ISO. When you need a bucket, sometimes you can go to him at the high post. He can shoot the three, he could ball handle, transition. Like, you know what I mean? Get to the free throw line, make his free throws. Like, you actually get a productive offensive-minded player. As opposed to, so now you have Boucher, Griffin. That's perfect. You know what I'm saying? That's perfect. Especially for the way the Raptors play, that's perfect. And Pascal can still do what he's doing. It doesn't hinder him at all. Yes, your defense is not the greatest, but it hasn't been the greatest at the big anyways. So it's not going to change. But you're going to get way better offense. And that's something that the Raptors should look at. But other than that, I mean, like, I don't really, again, the Drummond trade, I don't really think the Raptors, even if it was something they wanted, I don't think they actually could get it. I'll be surprised if they actually pull it off. Multiple team trade and whatever the case is. Like, I'll be surprised if they pull it off. Obviously, that might involve Lowry and all that type of stuff. Like, I just don't see. I just don't think they have the assets. And do you break up the team like that for Drummond, or do you just let it play out and just, like you said, we'll wait till 2021 free agency? Right? It's still there. Like, do you really Break up. Like you're still mediocre to pack right now. Like, you know what I mean? Just get strides. Just get strides. You can still get wins. Like, do you really shake it up? Do you really shake it up that involves other pieces, or do you keep the core together? Keep what you have. Keep what you have, and then basically you play it out in free agency. Because Drummond also is gonna be a free agent. Like, are you really gonna do that? And then he just leaves, and then you lost Powell, you lost this, and he leaves. Like, I'm not risking that. To be honest, I'm not risking that, especially for Drummond. Like, I'm not risking that. I'm not risking that for a big. Like, I would risk that maybe for like a Kawhi or like a wing player, but for a big that you don't even go to that much. Like, obviously they do rim protection or whatever, but like, there's so many replacements for bigs. Like, there's not too many replacements for wing, clutch, closer. Like, there's not too many of that. So, like, big men, there's a lot of big men play like that, and you can rim protect. There's a lot of under the radar guys. They get an opportunity, they snap, they become a Jared Allen now. Like, there's a lot. Like, you just have to do your research, you know. Even there's G League guys that could do that. Like, there's so many guys. Like, you just have to do your research. Boucher was once that. Like, you know, there's so many guys. You just have to do your research, and I'm not breaking up the whole team and all of that and sussing the 2021 free agency for that. I'm not doing that. If I'm the Raptors, I'm not. Only one I'm doing is if Blake Griffin's off the buyout market, then I go for that, because I don't hinder my 2021. I don't hinder my roster. I don't hinder nothing. I just add. So that's the only way I'm doing. That's perfect scenario for me. So you already know it's True Talks, because True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. You already know we out here. There's no doubt here and there's no drought here. You feel me? Share, like, and subscribe. Like I said, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You already know. Come for that IQ, because that's what I do. You already know, man. I appreciate y'all. Again, they play again today. We'll see how that goes. Appreciate y'all, man. You already know. And I'm out, man.